What do you want to be when you grow up? A question that most of us are asked multiple times throughout our lives. But how do we answer the question? Notice the question itself is not, what do you want to do, but what do you want to be? And that question implies that we integrate a part of ourselves into our work. Now that makes sense, because on average, a person spends over 100,000 hours of their lifetime working. Therefore, that quality of our work experience has a direct impact on the quality of our overlying life experience. Now, that makes it a little bit disheartening to hear the fact that 70% of people are not engaged in their work. According to the Gallup organization, this is actually the case worldwide. And not only that 70% of people are not engaged in their work, but many of them are also unsatisfied and unfulfilled with the work that they're doing. Now, I personally feel very lucky to have found a career path that aligns with my strengths and my talents, but I can personally relate to having experienced that overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction with my own work. I can think about one of the times that I was at my absolute lowest. It was a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, and I was walking out of work, so relieved to be heading into the weekend. I walked through the parking lot, got in my car, and started driving. Before I had even completely exited the parking lot, I was hit with an overwhelming amount of dread, just knowing that I would have to drive back into that parking lot and go into work on Monday morning. I absolutely hated my job. I remember asking myself, how did I let this happen? How did I get here? Now, as I mentioned, a lot has changed since then. For the last decade, I've been teaching and coaching, helping others to develop a career path that they love. I'm a master certified executive coach and a business professor. So what changed? What shifted? Specifically, what I changed was my own career narrative, or my career script. Instead of focusing on what I thought I wanted to be when I grew up, I started focusing on what my values were, what was most important to me, and the impact that I wanted to make. What if we all shifted our mindset, and instead of focusing on trying to fit ourselves into a career or into a job, we found a path that fit us? This takes a very radical perspective shift in how we think about work and how we think about doing those things that matter to us the most. Now, in doing this research, I've come across a number of quotes that have had a big impact on me. But one stands out specifically, and this is a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The quote is, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail." Now, as it turns out, he was onto something with this making your own path and leaving a trail. According to Dell Technologies and the Institute for the Future, up to 85% of jobs that will exist just 10 years from now have never even been invented yet. Now that's a pretty big challenge for all of us trying to prepare for a job that might not even exist yet. For a college student who's entering into a 4-year degree program, it might not even be possible for them to enter into that program and acquire every single skill that the industry is going to need by the time they graduate, just 4 years later. Another example, how many students back in 2017 started down a path that would fully prepare them to become blockchain engineers? Yet between 2017 and 2020, the demand for blockchain engineers grew by over 400%, according to Hired, a company that sources and recruits technology candidates. So hopefully we're getting at the why here, why this is so important. But let's shift gears and talk about the how. What can we actually do with this information? Specifically, we can focus on becoming lifelong learners and developing a consistent and disciplined practice of assessing our vocation and our values. Now, unfortunately, you can't just program a computer or take an assessment to give you the answer to this important question, or use that very famous Harry Potter sorting hat, although that would be pretty cool. Instead, we need to do this important internal work. We need to assess our passions, and then we need to design a path that meets our needs on multiple levels, allowing us to each create our own career script. Now, this narrative or this script is uniquely personal to each one of us, but it's so important that we learn to not just follow it to the letter. Like any creative process or drafting process, it's going to be a little bit messy. So we need to embrace that messiness. We need to own it, and we need to especially make sure that we never let someone else write it for us. When we do this work and we take this ownership, we become authentic career leaders in our own lives. And becoming an authentic career leader in your own life, this puts you in the driver's seat of your career. By assessing your strengths and your passions and designing and creating a career path that fits into your life in a meaningful way. So let's break down vocation and values. The first step in this very important process is to think about a vocation instead of a job. A vocation is an answer to a call from beyond ourselves. It's an invitation to use our talents and to use our gifts to make the world a better place. And we do this through our service, through our creativity, and through our leadership. The second step in this important process is to assess our values. Now, fulfillment in work comes when those work and life values that are most important to us are met through our work. So it's critical that the organizations we choose to work for share at least the most important of those values. Otherwise, what we end up experiencing is that internal sense of conflict and turmoil and general feeling that we just cannot be ourselves when we're at work. So what are values? Simply, values are the things that we each find to be the most valuable or desirable. And they form the basis for how we make decisions about what we're willing to do or not do. And each of us has our own unique system of these values. And it forms the lens that we look through to determine how we feel about our work and how we feel about the impact that that work has on society. So, all right, I know that this takes reflection. This takes time. But I found that there are 3 questions we can ask ourselves to determine if we're living our vocation and our values. Question number 1, does your work help you to feel more alive? Question number 2, does your work allow you to create value for yourself and for other people? And question number 3, are you doing the things that matter to you? If you can answer yes to these 3 questions and make a living, congratulations, you have hit the career jackpot. Because jobs and work, they're going to continue to evolve. The speed of change is only accelerating. So we need to look at learning as a lifelong process, not just something that happens between that age of 5 and 22. We need to create and embrace every opportunity we can for project-based learning and training that helps us to develop new skills. Reskilling and upskilling that we're hearing so much about right now, it's not just about developing the latest high-tech skills. It's all about becoming multifaceted and multidimensional. And it's just as important to focus on acquiring those interpersonal skills, those skills that will help you to weather whatever changes or shifts end up coming your way. As you think about the future, think about how can you become a better collaborator, a critical thinker, a stronger communicator, and a powerful, positive leader. This mindset is all about continuous learning. It's all about adopting that beginner's mind. And a beginner's mind, that's being open and eager to learn new skills, no matter what your current level of expertise is. This is very well becoming our new norm of being open to new jobs, open to new industries, and open to new learning opportunities. So let's change the question. Instead of asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? Let's ask, what mark do you want to leave? What impact do you want to have? What challenges do you want to solve? And how do you want to live your vocation through your values?